Can you hear me?
There you go.
All right, thank you very much. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for coming out on this hot and sunny day. I'd like to welcome everyone who's here for the ceremony this afternoon. My name is Kathy Mikas. I'm a 10-year volunteer with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Our purpose, our goal, the reason we exist is to bring an end to gun violence in our country. Today is National Gun Violence Awareness Day. It's a day that is when we gather to support people whose lives have been impacted by gun violence and to commit all of us, every one of us, to making the changes that are needed to end the tide of gun violence in our country. We are going to be hearing from people whose lives have been directly impacted by gun violence, and they are powerful speakers. So now it's my honor to introduce our first speaker, my friend Holland Holm. Holland is a survivor of the 1997 mass shooting at Paducah Heath High School. He's a graduate of Western Kentucky University and the University of Louisville Brandeis School of Law. I tripped over that every time. Sorry. He resides in Old Louisville with his wife and his 2 children. His wife's here today. And Holland is an Everytown Survivor Fellow, and he is a spokesperson for Moms Demand Action. Please join me in welcoming my friend, Holland Holm.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you so much for the introduction. On December 1st, 1997, gun violence changed my life, and I live with those changes to this day. It was the Monday after Thanksgiving, and I was a freshman in high school. We had just finished our morning prayer group, and I was heading to Spanish class through the lobby when I heard a series of pops, like balloons bursting. I heard 2, maybe 3, and then everything went black. A student who I had known since the 3rd grade lunch table had reached into his backpack, pulled out a handgun, and opened fire in the crowded lobby. In the aftermath of that act of violence, 3 girls died: Nicole Hadley, Jessica James, and Casey Steger, and 4 other students, other than myself, were wounded, some with lifelong injuries that they still struggle with. I had been shot in the head, and while the doctors were able to close that wound with about a dozen staples, I don't know if I would be here today if that bullet had been a little further to the right or had been fired from the barrel of an AR-15 style assault rifle. 25 years later, in addition to the physical scar that I hide in my hairline, I carry with me the mental scars of the fear and the anguish and the memories of the aftermath to this very day. I relive that day again and again and again whenever I hear the news of another school shooting. And my heart aches for the people in this city impacted by gun violence each and every day. I speak out now about what happened to me because it shouldn't be happening. We can end gun violence, and that's why it's important that we're all here today, raising awareness and keeping the fight against gun violence going. We can stop the tragic gun violence that happens to our neighbors and our loved ones each and every day in this city and forever impacts their friends and family, like Krista Gwynn, who will share her story next. We can stop mass shootings like the one that tragically killed, wounded, and traumatized Louisvillians in April. We can stop school children in this city from having to go on lockdown in their classrooms because of a mass murder at the bank down the street. We can stop making our children live in fear and prevent childhood trauma. This is not inevitable or something we should accept as normal. It's not normal. Tyree Smith, a 16-year-old JCPS student, died by gun violence at a school bus stop in our city. I recently witnessed a child at my kid's own bus stop instinctively hide behind a car because a heavy truck made a loud bang as it passed us. What are we doing to our children? We owe it to them to solve this problem. We owe it to the families in this city who have carried the scars and loss of gun violence across generations. In Kentucky, guns are the leading cause of death for children and teens. Not car accidents, not COVID, guns. So what's the solution? First, I can tell you what's not the solution. We don't solve a gun violence crisis by making it illegal for state and local police to cooperate with federal gun crimes investigations. Our state legislature did that this year. We don't solve a gun violence crisis by allowing students and members of the public to bring more guns on school campuses. Our legislature tried to do that this year. The solution to the problem is never more of the problem. Instead, Frankfurt must allow Louisville to address our local gun problem with local solutions by local leaders who are accountable to local voters. Frankfurt must treat gun violence like the public health crisis it is and vote to establish the Office of Safer Communities so we can understand the why of the crisis and then work together on the how of solving it. And you can help. Reach out to your Metro Council member and urge them to support more local funding of the Office of Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods, which seeks systemic solutions to this systemic problem of gun violence. 60% of OCEAN's funding comes from federal COVID emergency funds, which will expire in 2 years. Metro Council is looking at the work of OCEAN is doing right now and needs to start planning right now to fund that at the local level for the future. Gun violence costs Kentucky $9.6 billion annually. That amounts to $2,000 for each Kentuckian. Any dollars we invest in preventing gun violence will help us avoid the cost of the aftermath and avoid the incalculable human toll. We must improve background checks, we must close the gun show loophole, and we must pass legislation enabling extreme risk protection orders. We can do this. We can end gun violence in our city and in our state if we have the courage to try. Please join us today as we focus on gun violence survivors, and bring awareness to this public health crisis. Thank you. My story of gun violence is shocking because of where it happened. But there are so many stories out there that shock because of their repetition and their frequency. We have many in our community who have seen gun violence in a generational cycle. And our next speaker is Krista Gwynn. She is a mom in Louisville and, like far too many parents in this city, has had a child taken from her by gun violence. Her son Christian, or Chris, was 19 when he died. And then, 2 years later, Krista's daughter was almost taken from her by a gun, also at age 19. Krista, thank you for joining us today and sharing your story.
Afternoon. I'm Krista Gwynn, standing here with my husband, Nevada Gwynn, and my 15-year-old Nevada Gwynn. Yes, same name. If it's good once, it's good twice. We are here today on one common ground. We have had gun violence in some kind of shape and form affect our lives. Gun violence has affected us on 12/19/2019. Our son Christian was shot and killed walking home on 43rd and Market by a drive-by shooter. He was 3 weeks into being 19 years old. Our son was a good kid, always respected his parents, and was a hard-working young man. To lose his life on a day off of work, just trying to enjoy the day, is a horrible thing. A year and 6 months later, June 7th, 2021, this Wednesday coming up, matter of fact, will be 2 years. My daughter Victoria was shot and wounded at a public park where she sat with her friends which one of them was Dawan Coward, who lost his life. My daughter was 19, 3 weeks into her 19th birthday. Dawan was 17. My daughter was in the park. The park was unloaded upon with at least 300 rounds of bullets. My daughter compared the sound of the bullets coming past her as if she was in a war zone. Still to this day, she cannot go out in public or partake in public festivities because it's too hard of the sounds she hear. The cars going down the street and the noise fireworks make on 4th of July. Today, we come together to remember the ones that we have lost and to show love and support to the ones who have survived this horrific ordeal. To bring awareness to the pandemic that is plaguing our youth. This is something no one can do alone. This is something a community of togetherness need to work on. We have one goal, and that is to rid our streets of such heinous activities. There are so many groups here today that is trying to get a handle on this, but let me say this. We can get in front of this if we can join united in the situation. We have to work on one accord, that's with the police, government leaders, to stop losing our children to violence. We cannot expect the police to show up and know what's going on. We have to show up and tell them what's going on in our community. Give them the homework they need to solve the crimes. To get our neighborhood, our schools, and our parks safe again. To help our children get the tools in school to better themselves. To turn our neighborhoods back into a family that watches out for each other. Gun violence is affecting all nationalities. It doesn't matter what color, sex, or preference you are. You are not in this alone. It does not just affect the poor end of the neighborhood. This is a global thing, and it is taking our kids by storm. My husband and I have lost a son and have a daughter that is fighting for survival every day mentally, from losing her brother to being shot and wounded and to losing her best friend. I don't want another family to have to stand here and say that about their family. We should not be burying our future. Our children should not be scared to sit out on the porch and enjoy a day. We should not duck and hide when a car rides by and it's loud and pop. But we do, and that's a shame. Our community is not speaking together and not coming together. They want answers, they want solutions, but don't want to help with the problem. I thank you for your time today, and thank you for your support and love. I now turn it over to the Louisville's Mayor, Craig Greenberg, who since took office has hit the street fighting this problem. He has hit the street fighting this problem since the day I met him. And I appreciate all he is trying to change, for always listening when we call and always there in a time of need. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Krista, and to the Gwynn family, to Holland, to Kathy. Thank you to Holland, to Krista, for sharing your stories. To Holly, excuse me, to Kathy and everyone from Moms Demand Action, thank you all so much to being with us today. To my good friend Lonnie Ali, thank you for joining us in this incredibly important cause. We can and will make change together. I want to especially thank Krista and Holland for sharing their stories and perspectives with all of us. They are who we need to listen to. They help us try to create wisdom and understanding out of moments of tragedy and terror. There are far too many people in our city and in our country who've had these same moments that they shared with you here today. when they feared for their own lives, when they feared for the lives of people who they loved, or even lost people who they loved. I've had one of those moments myself, and I know that I'm one of the fortunate ones. Too many people in Louisville, too many people in America aren't as lucky as I was. And so many people should not have to depend on luck in America in 2023 to survive. We should not have to hope that today isn't the day that a gunshot claims our lives or takes someone we love who was on the sidewalk or in a park or at a party or at the mall or at their home or at work. We should not have to explain to young children that it might be necessary for them to hide under their desks if someone comes into their school with a gun to harm them or try to take their life. But we do. Over and over, we do. And we're tired of it. We're just tired of the fear and the losses and the excuses for why we can't do more, why we can't do anything. We're tired of those excuses. We're tired of hearing why we can't really protect ourselves and our children, because that's simply not true. Life doesn't have to be this way. This doesn't have to happen. February 14th, 2022, when a gunman walked into my office and fired 6 gunshots at me. That doesn't have to happen. April 10th, 2023, when a murderer killed 5 co-workers at Old National Bank. That doesn't have to happen. April 15th, 2023, when 2 individuals were killed in an evening at Chickasaw Park. That doesn't have to happen. This week at the Mall St. Matthews, when gunfire opened out after an oral argument began. That doesn't have to happen. And hundreds of other times before then and since then that are going to come in the future. That doesn't have to happen. This gun violence does not have to happen. We can prevent people from dying, from suffering, from living in fear. There are so many things that we can do. There's not a magic answer, not one solution, but doing nothing clearly hasn't worked. So all of us here today and others across the city, I invite you to join us, because we are taking action to reduce gun violence. We are trying to do all we can do. We're investing in our neighborhoods and in people who have been overlooked for generations, so every child has an opportunity to succeed and pursue their hopes and dreams. We're going to invest more in mental health care. We're working to make early learning for every child a reality here in Louisville. We're investing in workforce development initiatives so everyone can have training to have a good paying career path job. These are all important parts of the solution. These will all save lives in the long run. But let's be clear about something else. As important as these steps are, as important as this is for the long-term solution, we are absolutely kidding ourselves if we don't talk about guns. We are kidding ourselves. We are kidding ourselves if we think we can protect ourselves, our children, our neighborhoods from gun violence if we don't talk about guns, if we don't do the hard, complicated, and absolutely necessary work of reducing the number of guns that cause murder after murder in our city and in our country. We need fewer guns on the street that are in the wrong hands and are being used for the wrong reason. And to do that, we need help from our friends in Frankfort. Right now, I'm already talking with members of the Kentucky General Assembly. And what I'm asking them for is 2 general things. First, if you support our police officers, like those who heroically ran into a barrage of fire from a waiting assailant with an assault weapon at Old National Bank on April 10th. if you support local decision making to address local issues, if you want to help our state's largest city thrive, please give us the autonomy here in Louisville to deal with our unique gun violence epidemic as we know how to deal with it. Let us, the people of Louisville who are here today and around the entire city, make our own choices about how we reduce gun violence in our own city. And second, and there'll be many more, but second for now, under current Kentucky law, the assault rifle that was used to murder 5 of our neighbors at Old National Bank may one day be eventually auctioned off. Think about that. This murder weapon and other murder weapons return to the streets under Kentucky's current law. My administration has already taken action to remove the firing pins before turning over confiscated weapons to the state, because that's all the current law allows us to do. Yet that's not enough. It's time to change this law. Let us destroy illegal guns and the guns that have been used to kill so they are never used to commit harm again. I know every member of the state legislature, like everyone else in our city and state and in the country, is horrified by the lives we're losing in mass shootings and in any shooting. None of us wants this to happen again, but it will keep happening, and that's why we have to do more. Let's change the state law that would make me as mayor a criminal for trying too hard to stop the actual criminals who are taking other people's lives. The laws we have now are enabling violence and murder. So let's work together to change these laws so we can keep our people safe, especially our children. I'm cautiously optimistic with conversations with my Democrat friends and my Republican friends in Frankfurt that we will all work together to make meaningful changes. Krista Gwynn knows all too well the unimaginable pain of losing a child. No parent should ever know or feel that, but far too many do. That's why we need the help of everyone, why we need others to join us here today, why we need gatherings like this, and why we need leaders like Kathy Makis and organizations like Moms Demand Action. Kathy and Moms Demand Action have been an outstanding partner and advocate, and we're going to be working hard together to push for change. They helped organize this event as part of National Gun Violence Awareness Day. This day has a very special origin. Its origin starts in Chicago with Hadia Pendleton, who marched with her school in President Obama's second inaugural parade. Not long after, she was shot and killed in Chicago. Hadia's friends and family asked everyone to wear orange for Hadia because orange is bright like she was. Orange is also the color that hunters wear to protect themselves from gunshots in the woods. And Hadia's parents asked people in Chicago and around the country to remember her and all victims of gun violence on June 2nd in memory of her and her birthday. And so that's why so many of us are wearing orange here today. I'm wearing the brightest orange shirt I could find because I want my words, my administrative actions, and my clothes to be as loud and as clear as possible. That's why tonight, working with Waterfront Park, we are lighting the Big Four Bridge orange because we want to say that same message. So please, let's all work together to change our laws and protect our children. We can and we will save lives by working together. Thank you all very much.
Well, first I want to say thank you, Mayor Greenberg, for everything you've done and for everything you've committed to do. Thank you for announcing that this is Gun Violence Awareness Day. Thank you for bringing so much attention to the issue. I'd encourage everyone to join the mayor at the Big Four Bridge, to come to our event tomorrow at Chickasaw Park at 1:30, 2 o'clock, and to remember the people who were shot in the nation. And there are other groups that are also holding events, but I don't have a complete list. I think if you Google Wear Orange, you can find it. All right. So, Mayor Greenberg, thank you. We're proud of what you're doing, proud of what you've done, and proud to stand with you. Thank you very much.